Rogers was the hottest thing the NWA had at the time, and they took the belt off of him. Was it in Montreal with Lou Thesz, or where was it with Lou Thesz?
It was in Montreal, I do believe, with Lou Thesz. Yeah. Again, one of those disputed.
Yeah, one of those disputed things, right?
Right.
Because some of the promoters in the NWA didn't want him to lose the belt. They didn't care about his heart condition. Sure. He was drawing huge money.
Yeah, meal ticket.
Let him die in the ring.
The business is built on money.
Yeah.
This is not just for giggles. Yeah. This is for all the marbles, and you want as many marbles in your sack as you can get. Yeah. And if you can't draw the money, you're not going to draw the crowds. You can't feed your kid. You can't get them the turbo tube with the kung fu grip on Christmas. You got to be able to do all that stuff. And so a lot of the promoters were unhappy that they were pushing, certain factions of the NWA were pushing for Rogers to dump the belt. Obviously, the East Coast was one of the big, huge people that were screaming about it. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that he was an East Coast guy. I really don't. I think it was more or less because he was drawing money. And I don't think a lot of people knew about his heart problems. I think that was very much under wraps to the people around him, And so McMahon broke away, started the WWF, made Rogers his first champion, because again, they disputed the findings in Montreal. And Rogers dropped that belt in like 50 seconds or something.
One fall,
50 seconds. And all title changes were 2 out of 3 back then.
Yeah. I've always heard that he came out of the hospital bed literally to go from the hospital
I've heard
bed.
That too. I don't know.
To lose the match in 58 seconds and went back to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's
true. There was
a
big, huge threat somewhere about how that whole Bruno Rogers match came about. It was all lies, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the Wrestling Classics message board, and it was quite literally, apparently,
It was captivating.
It was a sociological experiment done by one person, claiming that the person that came to the ring to lose the title was not Rogers, but a double. And the way they had their facts and everything put together historically, and the people and where they were at the time, had the entire place just buzzing that this might have actually happened, that Rogers never actually lost the title, that it was an imposter the entire time.
See, now, I didn't read that.
Suspension of disbelief.
What I read is how Rogers was holding up the New York office for money.
You're right, that was part of it. But so they had to get a fake Rogers.
I mean, they talked about Jack Dempsey being one of Rogers' buddies.
Yeah, sure.
They talked about all of this different stuff. And that's what I found captivating was this actually the behind-the-scenes story. Mm-hmm. I've talked to Bruno several times. And when I was with him in Tampa, I really wanted to ask him about that, but we just didn't get the time to chat, because Bruno would know.
True.
From what I understand, Bruno got in the ring with him and told him he'd break him in half. If you don't submit, I'm going to break you in half.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sure he could have done it.
Most likely. You mentioned really quick there Jack Dempsey. That was one thing I found interesting, just looking at some of the results. The proliferation of the boxer as the special guest referee. Jersey Joe Walcott, Rocky Marciano. Were there any matches that you guys remembered seeing?
I saw Walcott at the amphitheater a few times, and for me at the time, it didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
Screwed up the match.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. It didn't do anything. I know Joe Louis was a special referee a couple of times. He even wrestled a couple of times. Vern Gagne had that guy later on. What do you have, Scott Ledoux?
Scott Ledoux.
Yeah, none of that ever did anything for me.
Now Scott's the head of the Minnesota Athletic Board.
Oh, he is. Yes. But I know Jersey Joe Walcott did it a couple of times, and I don't know if he did it for the money. I certainly don't think at the time he drew any fans. I don't think anybody would pay money to go to the amphitheater at the time to see Jersey Joe Walcott.
Okay. So it's more just a gimmick idea, hopefully draw some casual.
Yeah, I don't think 10 people would pay to see Jersey Joe Walcott at the time. Because you wanted to go see the stars of wrestling. I would, when I saw him there, to me he was a distraction. He didn't do anything.
He didn't know how to ref.
He didn't know how to ref. It was just a stumble bump.
He like slowed down the match.
Yeah, he did. He slowed it
He screwed up
down.
the match. And you know that even if you weren't smart, you knew that he was going to throw a punch.
Yeah.
And that was going to knock out
The heel.
the heel. That was it.
Or Heenan.
This guy here, Dickie Steinborn, one of the greatest baby faces of all time. He did programs with Rogers that just sold houses out everywhere. Billy Darnell was another guy that was a good friend of Rogers and loved to be in programs, because they were in programs everywhere, all over the country. But you got to see him transition
Yeah.
from Handsome Jimmy.
Yeah. To the
Boogie Woogie Man.
Yeah.
Now that all came out of Memphis,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That whole gimmick, that whole angle,
Unbelievable.
right? You should know the story to that.
Oh, it was amazing, man. It was amazing, handsome.
But it had to be long. It had to be a long time. It wasn't like in a matter of weeks.
No, it was over a course of a long period of time. He left and went to work for Vince Sr.
Right.
And like I said, I swear to God, when Moose messed him up, that's what made him start thinking, I can't do this forever. you
Probably.
know? So he learned how to use that charisma, which was natural to him in the ring, to be the Boogie Woogie Man. And I think that that time away from Vince Sr., he came back, and he's such a creative guy. That he probably at the time when he was transitioning from one to the other, knew it was time to come back, sold them on ideas. What Hanson was great at doing was going to your Jerry Jarrett's or anybody, even Ole. Ole loved Hanson because he would come up with these gimmicks. And he would make them think. He would make the booker think that they came up with it. I've seen him do it.
Yeah.
and Ole to this day say, I gave him that gimmick. I know. But Hanson lets them think that. It's like, God bless you, brother.
God bless you, brother.
Yeah.
Gave me a whole nother life in the business.
So he was gone, long enough. And what better way to bring back one of your hottest heels of all time in the house that Jimmy built, which is what they used to call the Coliseum, than as a baby face.
Now, did they turn him?
No, he came back as a face.
Just walked in the door and now he's a baby.
Yeah, they used him in some angle. I can't remember who it was against. Maybe Austin Idol or something when they turned Idol heel.
But they turned him in that.
Yeah, they brought him back as a face in Memphis. They turned him in Memphis, and because it used to be, how it used to be. The hotter heel you were, the better baby face you're gonna make later.
Absolutely.
Because people love a changed man.
It's the pendulum swing.
Yeah.
Realities are realities. Grab a clock and a pendulum, pull it here.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Swing into here.
Yeah. Or the balls with the.
Yeah. The harder you hit them, the further they swing. The more talented you are here, the hotter you are, the hotter you're going to be over here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing a Mark likes to see more, especially in the South, than somebody that's found Jesus.
Yeah, man. I used to watch Handsome. The first time he did it in this little town in Arkansas. And it was amazing. It was out in the middle of nowhere. He was pointing out to me that there were people there living without running water and electricity. This is in 1990.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He says, but you watch tonight, brother. That place is going to be full. And they didn't discount the tickets or anything. Hanson walks into the main event doing a Hanson Jimmy, and then he says, Grandma Valiant was born in whatever the county hospital was. So this is like coming home for me. I thought, Jimmy, was your grandma really born here? No, brother. So he would say that, and all the spot towns would get over like crazy, and the gimmicks would fly off the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all of a sudden he had that persona in every town. He was the hometown hero. It was great.
You're talking about some of the things that Jimmy Valiant created. I think one of my favorites I've seen, I don't believe it was Memphis, I think it was Mid-Atlantic, was the infamous Charlie Brown from Out of Town. With one of the greatest lines I've ever heard when he described meeting his new friend Charlie.
Yes,
I know
see
he's
that.
cool because I met him in jail.
Taping.
There were things that he said.
Can I call you back unless you want to say hello to
Who's that?
everybody? Oh, are you sure?
Is that awesome, Colin?
No, this is Reggie Parks.
There you go.
Hey,
Reggie.
Reggie Parks.
How are you?
Here he is. He's on the phone.
He's on the phone.
Say hello, Parks.
Hello, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for being a part.
Okay, you've been a big part of this, and thank you. You're a big part in making this thing what it is today. And oh no, that's Jimmy that would say that to you.
Invaluable
And
contribution.
how about I call you back when I'm done here? All right. All right. Go to the Barefoot Bar. Have one for me.
Yeah, we're having one now.
Oh, nice. All right.
Reggie Parks, belt maker to the stars, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you ever hear?
And a great worker. He worked for God.
Yeah,
He was was Reggie Parks one of the? Did he sort of? I hesitate to say like sort of a prototype, but he was known for his physique.
Absolutely.
Was he sort of a precursor to many of the guys that started that, or was he sort of in and
I don't know if
amongst
he was a
them?
precursor.
I'd say Buddy was a precursor.
Rogers, was with the physique. Parks had a extremely athletic physique. I mean, he came from a school of hard knocks. He was trained down in that dungeon up in Canada. That's where he came out of.
Okay.
And you weren't no wuss to come out of that basement.
Sure.
And they used to call him, they called Pepper Gomez the same thing, the man with the cast iron stomach.
Sure.
And they used to drive cars over
Yeah, it was awesome.
over Parks.
Wasn't
And the
that
same
awesome?
thing over Martinez. And then he'd stop the wheel on your stomach,
Yeah.
and he'd do the belly exercise, and you see the car bouncing up and down. It was
The old Volkswagen.
absolutely
And you
fabulous.
never realized, you never thought, well, it's a Volkswagen, the engine's in the rear.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's brilliant. I just realized when you said
We never
that.
realized that. Bob Luce put the, look at the tire marks!
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. But they did what with Parks, too.
Okay.
But Parks worked for Gagne and them for a long time. He became a belt maker. I think some of the first belts he ever made were for Vern. The old titles, tag titles that Bockwinkel and Stevens had. And then the weird-looking belt that Gagne had that had the bars that came up the side. On each side, it was a really weird-shaped thing before they got the inmate belt, which was made by prisoners in a penitentiary. But he was, Reggie and his tag team partner were working for the Dusick brothers.
Okay.
And they were the tag team champions, but they had no belts. They had this 5-foot trophy. And as Randy will tell you, in our day, you ran the roads. And you would
How
put...
practical was that?
Oh, yeah. But back then it was practical, better than flying.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean...
No, I mean hauling around that 5-foot trophy.
well, that's what he was about. You couldn't put any of the boys in the car with you. You couldn't fit it in the trunk.
Nobody split the gas.
Nobody split the gas. It was him and his partner, Doug Gilbert.
Me and my
Riding around.
arrow.
Yes, in this 5-foot piece of trophy. And the thing was top heavy. So they'd bring it out and they'd stand it up and fall over. Pieces would break off and go skittering across the floor. They'd have to get it. They'd spend half the night trying to glue this piece of shit back together. So they go to the Dusicks, and Reggie goes, we really need some belts. This trophy thing just ain't working out. And Dusicks goes, fine, you make them, you can wear them. And that's how he became a belt maker.
Oh, wow. All right. Good story.
Necessity, the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Handsome, he would sneak all kind of stuff into interviews, man. Oh, remember when he did that mother-in-law? Hallmark was trying to push a mother-in-law day. Remember that? And Handsome Jimmy did this thing for, I think it was WCW at the time, or no, it was NWA Georgia Championship.
Okay.
Where he claimed that he was married 14 times, and this is his favorite day of the year, his mother-in-law day.
Mother-in-law day.
He used to ask me for lines. He'd say, brother, give me anything. Anything. It was like a game we played. He wasn't hard up and like asking old Randy for material. But he'd say, give me any line, and I'll work it into the promo this morning in Memphis TV. And I'd say, well, how about this, Handsome? Don't you never pull my lever. He goes, that's good. I like that, man. Where you got? You come up with that? I'm like, well, no, I heard it in a song. So Handsome go, you look at the camera and go, Eric Embry, don't you never pull my lever, you mother. And you couldn't do that. We were right after the Smurfs at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? But he throws that you mother in there anyway, and they couldn't do nothing. It was live,
Right, yeah.
I mean, you spoke to his charisma and like his interview style. I think one of the most amazing interviews I've ever seen, he said 2 lines. And it was the most simple thing I've ever heard, but yet I knew he was going to kill somebody. All he said was, "Rough Riders, I know you're rough, 'cause your name is Rough Riders." And that's it. That's all he said. And it's like, well, yeah, of course they're rough.
I bet you the house.
And he pointed this out. And there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, he was a genius.
He really. He's amazing.
Because
I've heard. Has anybody here read his book?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Is it as good as they say?
I think
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I
But
read-
you have
Did he
to
call you and
but
tell you,
have to
brother,
know what he's
brother,
talking
you're in the
about.
book, man?
I'm in the book, but see, here's what happened. I actually stopped.
Called
and saw
everybody he
him.
knows. I mean,
Yeah.
but everybody
You know why?
in the world in
He's
the book.
trying to get us to buy it because
Right.
we're in there. So
I had to buy it. He wouldn't send me a copy of it.
I stopped in Shawsville with a guy. I was coming back from some TNA garbage. They were going to send a guy back 22 hours from the East Coast to Nashville by himself. So I'm like, F that. I canceled my flight, went with him, knowing that I could stop by and see Jimmy. Because right before we hit Knoxville,
Right.
we hit Shawsville, and he's been on me for 20 years to come see the museum,
Right.
Which is a thing of beauty, by the way.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Oh my God!
gotta
I
see
can't
it.
believe that. I mean,
I'm willing to. I'll bet he's got stuff of mine in that museum.
Ed, you've got
You got
to
your
see
crown.
it. It's the most amazing thing. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he's still building the thing. It's a work in progress, But anyway, long story short, we get there and I'm thinking, okay, man, here it comes. He's going to hand me the book, And I'm with one of my guys, one of my carpenters, actually. One of my carpenters, and I was with TNA. And here he comes with the book, and I see him pitching my boy, and I'm thinking he's just going to give me one. You know what I mean? We've probably been through so much together. He goes, "For you, brother, 35." So my boy, then he says to me, "Brother, $30 you could." And I'm like, handsome, So I just, I'm not buying the book. Just out of principle, I'm not gonna quit till he gives me the damn thing. But
Yeah, we're going to be waiting a long time.
Well, I feel honored then because I got my book from him for nothing. Yes, I did. I swear to God.
How'd you do it?
Huh? Had scheduled him to go to Mr. Fuji's house for a visit, and he gave one for Al, and he gave one to me.
He wouldn't up with a book for free, man. Couldn't believe
So-
it. But he's thinking, well, he's
Yeah.
doing good now. He's with TNA.
So I feel honored, and it's a good book.
You should
But
be.
gotta-
If he gave you that book.
And he, personal message inside, the whole 9 yards.
I heard.
Really good book.
I read a review for someone who used to be a wrestling fan, but now is a mainstream critic, right? They said that the book would make a perfect movie.
I
You're
think
in
so.
it.
Yeah.
I
You're in
think
it.
so.
I'm in it.
Cool.
Yeah. Major Duke's in there.
I paid my 35. Yeah. Yeah, Major Duke George is now playing poker in Las Vegas.
Oh, good for him.
Texas Hold'em. I
Was
just
he
talked to
really
him the other
fired
day.
for eating Bruiser's hot dogs?
Yes.
What? This is a truth then,
All right.
okay?
Yeah, now, I don't remember back then, you busted your ass, and you're now in Bruiser's territory. You're the manager of Handsome Jimmy and Luscious Johnny Valiant. Now, there's been a lot of stories about the kind of goof and snot ass that Bruiser was. I mean, he used to make Bobby Heenan do all kinds of things.
Clean the pool, mow the
carry the
lawn,
jackets, bring him
wax the car.
popcorn. Oh, God. The list is endless. One night, they're at Bruiser's TV taping in the big building in Indianapolis. And, of course, Bruiser's the kind of guy, he'd catch you on a rebound all the time. He'd screw you out of money. Oh, it was terrible. And, of course, you got guys, these three are running around the countryside, and Handsome and Johnny are probably making decent money, but Duke ain't making crap,
Yeah.
And so, Bruiser's got 2 hot dogs sitting over here. And when he comes back, they're gone. So, who ate my hot dog? And Duke George said, well, I did. And he said, well, he blew up. And Duke walked out. Let me see if I can get Duke on the phone and let him tell it himself.
Fantastic.
All right, you guys talk amongst yourselves.
All right.
Unbelievable. Huh?
In this little aside, you mentioned Las Vegas, where Duke is. Ha Vern Gagne ran in Las Vegas. God, kill me.
Did they
terrible
have the
segue.
commission when he was running there?
I don't think so. I think they just had the boxing commission. They didn't have any regulations over wrestling.
Because it is insane there to run wrestling. Insane in Vegas.
They took it over because it's money. It's still a moneymaker for MMA and for boxing and for wrestling. So they're going to go where the money's at.
Gotcha.
So,
how are you?
That's all.
So I was thinking at the time when you could see the crowd diminishing
right now we're
in Vegas. I was like, how in the hell does he afford to run there? You know?
Because the hotels are bankrupt.
TV.
Gotcha.
And we've been asked the question.
Yeah, that's right.
If it was true about Major Duke George and the hot dogs. So I want to put you on speakerphone if it's okay, and let you tell the story because you know it obviously better than anybody. Would that be okay? Let me put you on speakerphone. Get a close-up of this.
Okay.
Duke George. Ladies and gentlemen.
Duke George.
Duke George.
Hello there.
Doing well.
Ask him the question.
Well, the question is, we hear that you were fired for eating Dick the Bruiser's hot dogs, and we'd like to know the story about this.
Well, that's partially true. What happened was we were in a town in Indianapolis, and Johnny Valiant and I went, it was about a couple hours before the show had started, and we were there early. And Johnny Valiant and I went into the concession area, which was a small kitchen-like thing. And we were talking to the girls in there, and we were eating hot dogs they had a big, huge pot of hot dogs that they were boiling. And they gave us a few, and we ate several with no buns, just ate the hot dogs. And didn't think too much of it. And then the next night, evidently after we had left the venue, whatever they were, they complained to Bruiser that I was in there eating the hot dogs and not paying for them. And Bruiser confronted me about it, and we ended up getting in an argument, and I was mad, he was mad, and I never actually got fired, but I did quit working for him that night. I left. And never went back. I got mad that he was mad about such a trivial thing as a hot dog. And,
well, tell him what you told him.
I beg your pardon?
Tell him what you told him. What you told Bruiser.
Well, I told him that if he would pay me more, I wouldn't have to steal hot dogs. And I said, I was eating them because I was hungry, and if you paid me more, I wouldn't have to be stealing hot dogs.
Exactly.
That's what got him mad, and then it just went from bad to worse after that.
So you got no leniency for having a huge set of to say something like that?
I think it was.
You got no leniency for having just a gigantic pair of to actually say that to the man?
No leniency at all.
All right.
I had to work against him that night, too. This all happened before the match.
Wow.
And so the match was a little more exciting than usual.
Wow.
Because that is a great story.
He could say anything.
Oh, unbelievable. Hey, man, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. How about I give you a shot when this is over?
All right, good enough, man, good enough. Tell everybody I said hi, and good luck to everybody.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Major.
Good night.
Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know, back then you were having people cycle from their drug of choice, which was alcohol, into pot and psychedelics.
Painkillers.
You know, and well, blow and, you know, a lot of different things, probably before the painkillers really became the drug of choice. And so there were some pretty whacked out situations back then.
Oh, man.
You get 4 or 5 guys on the road and a couple girls in a room and
get robbed for a 6-pack and a couple of you would not believe the stories you hear.
Oh, yeah. We could sit here telling Paul Christie stories.
Sure.
Cows came home.
Sure.
Go ahead.
He puts him in his
take
book.
over.
Take over.
Paul Christie.
Did he?
Yeah. He puts him in his book. A lot of things that he did.
I asked
They shouldn't have done.
Williams.
His book is parts of it are an unbelievable fabrication.
Yeah, I would have to say I wasn't there, but
Paul Christie was one of the absolute greatest baby faces the business has ever seen. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he lived in a world that was truly his own. Truly his own. It was the truth as Paul Christie saw it. I mean, you could be talking to him, and he would take one thing you said, and that would be the only thing, and he would stop thinking and hearing you after that.
Gotcha.
And then he had his completely own warped spin on the entire situation.
Sure.
And I've read that book, and I've lived a life with Christie for a long time. I spent a ton of time with him in not only the wrestling business, but the hypnosis business.
Sure.
Because I was the one that started that business.
Gotcha.
I brought to him the idea of doing that whole thing.
Gotcha.
And that book is like...
it's a good read.
It's a good read, but don't be buying into a lot of it.
You know what I wanted to ask you about? Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal stories.
I don't have any.
Remember when he broke in as a kid or anything?
No, I don't. No.
I remember his first match, and they said it was both of their first matches. Well, supposedly. No, actually, yeah. Steve told me it was him against Jackie Ruffin from Indianapolis. Steve Regal and Jackie Ruffin. I remember that. Did you see much wrestling when Steve was?
I saw him
on his run?
I saw him in the AWA, probably in the '80s. I think when he was a heel at the time when I saw him.
Yeah, with Jimmy Garvin?
Yeah. That's when I saw him. I really don't recall seeing him too much prior to that.
Did you ever see him, Eddie, for Bruiser?
Who was that?
Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity.
Yeah, I did.
Used to see him all the time at the Odeum when Blues used to run his shows at the Odeum in Villa Park. He was pretty good heel over there.
Yeah.
He got his point across.
One hell of a hand. Weren't they the first guys up north, Garvin and Regal, to beat the Road Warriors?
You know what? I don't know.
I think
could have been. But yeah, I mean, it was funny because it was Snyder's son-in-law.
Yep.
Was Steve Regal, and Spike Huber
was
Bruiser's son-in-law. And they both basically broke in right around the same time.
Yeah, with Jackie Ruffin and Max Blue.
Max Blue.
Max Blue.
What a memory, huh?
Holy cow.
Who's Max Blue?
Tell him.
Just, a young kid, didn't see much of him.
Just a jobber.
Yep, just a job guy.
Young kid. A little bit.
Much better than Bobby Van.
Yeah. Him and Jackie Ruffin probably meant about as much as Prince Poland's.
And they were better workers.
Yeah,
Right, they were very good workers.
They were.
Here's an interesting question. Of those sort of unsung heroes of the opening matches.
Sure. The guys that got the other guys over.
Exactly. Yeah. Every area sort of had their guys. Mid-Atlantic, Crockett area had the Mulkeys in the 80s. There was Barry Horowitz and guys like that.
Did the Mulkeys work
in the Northwest? I think they did.
Yeah, they came to Chicago for WCW.
They did.
Yes, they did.
Okay, gotcha.
Who were those staples of this time period of wrestling around this time in Chicago and sort of the
which time period? I mean,
this golden age time
60s,
that we've been talking about,
well,
60s, 70s. Yeah.
You've got a couple of different golden ages going on.
That's very true. Yeah.
You've got your stories out of the 50s.
Yeah.
We've talked about stories out of the 60s and stuff out of the 70s and jump to the 80s. Johnny Case, obviously Billy Gells,
Bob Saber.
Johnny Gilbert, Bob Saber, Bobby Van. He was terrible. But he was a body. Let's put it this way. He was a big body.
Remember his name.
Absolutely no mind behind that body whatsoever. But a relatively nice idiot.
Okay.
And then you had your Kenny J.
Stormy Granzig.
You had Kenny J. You had Jake the Milkman Millman.
Yeah. Remember
George
Stormy?
George
Stormy
Gdanski.
Granzig?
Yeah. He looked kind of like Hubert.
Yeah, he was put together.